Good afternoon everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. So here today we are going to be looking at absolute value equations. So what does the absolute value involve? So this is a very simple concept. So for example, if you have a number inside, let's say you have positive 5. The absolute value of 5 is equal to, we have a positive. So absolute value, we are going to be taking the positive of 5 like that. If we have, let's say, the absolute value, so this is the symbol for the absolute value. So that's our symbol for the absolute value. So now let's say we have, as long as you have these two bars, it means to say the absolute value. So let's say you have the absolute value of -5. Now you are looking at the absolute of -5. This one should also be equal to a positive of 5. Now get this clear. So whatever number you have, as you can see, we have positive 5 and -5. You are still going to get a positive 5 and positive 5 there. Now what does this mean? This means to say, even if you have let's say your x is equal to, let's say the absolute value of x is equal to 5. What does this mean? It means to say already your x, when you remove your absolute value, should be equal to plus or minus 5. So that's the relationship between absolute value and the square root. So as you can see, x can either be positive 5 or -5. If you put, you can even prove this. If I put to say, so this is the same as saying x is equal to positive 5 in this case, or x is equal to -5. So this means that if you put, let's say where there is x, you put 5. So here, just substituting. When you put where there is x, you put positive 5. Your value for this will also be equal to 5. If you get this and put it here, we are going to have our absolute of -5, which should be equal to, so the absolute value of -5 is 5. So this is why when we are now solving questions, that's why we equate, immediately we remove these. We are going to say positive or negative like that. So let us be able to now solve problems. Let's say you have the absolute value of 3x minus 2. So same approach. What we are going to do is, since we are looking at the value of x, immediately we remove the bars. We are going to have our 3x minus 2 should be equal to plus or minus a 7 like that. Then this means that it's either your 3x minus 2 is equal to positive 7, or your 3x minus 2, which should be equal to -7. So you will find two values. So the absolute value will give you two values like that. So this should be equal to 3x. You take the -2 to the other side, it will be 7 plus 2 like that, which will give you a 3x, which should be equal to 9. Then you divide over 3 over 3. Your x value will be equal to 3 like that. So looking at the other one, we have a 3x minus 2 should be equal to -7. So what we are going to have is a 3x should be equal to, we put our -7. If 2 crosses the equal sign, it will be plus 2 like that. Then we are going to get a 3x, which should be equal to -7 plus 2 will give us a -5. Then we divide over 3 over 3. So our x value for this will be equal to, we have a -5 over 3. So this means that we can conclude to say the solution set should be equal to, we can put our values, which is our -5 over 3. We are just listing our solutions, and a 3 like that. So let's say you have this. So what do? So you just take the one the other side, so that we could only remain with the modulus and one number there. So we are going to have a 3 over 2x, then we have -3, then we are going to have should be equal to 7, then we have -1 like that. So we have the absolute value of 3 over 2x minus 3, which should be equal to our 7 minus 1 will give us 6. Then from here we are going to remove this. Immediately we remove this, we are going to have a 3 over 2x minus 3, which should be equal to plus or minus 6. So this means that your 3 over 2 x minus 3 should be equal to positive 6, or we can say that our 3 over a 2x minus 3 should be equal to getting the negative. Since plus or minus means one is positive, one result for x is positive, the other one is for negative. So we can solve this. So by saying, so it will be a 3 over 2 x should be equal to 6. Then we are going to add our 3 when it crosses this sign. So we are going to have a 3 over 2x, which should be equal to our 6 plus 3 will give us 9, like that. Then we are, from here we can cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we have our 3x. This is the same as our 3x. So it will be 3x times 1. 1 doesn't change anything, so we will have 3x should be equal to our 2 times 9. This will give us 18. Then we divide by 3. We divide by 3. So our x in this case will be equal to 6, like that. So that means we have found for that one. So we are going to get for the other parts, we have a 3 over 2 x minus 3 should be equal to let's take the 3 the other side. It will be, this one should be equal to, we have a negative 6. If this 3 goes the other side, it will be plus a 3, like that. Then we are going to have our 3 over 2 x negative 6 plus 3 will give us a negative 3, like that. Then from here we are going to cross multiply. So this 3x times 1 will give us a 3x should be equal to this 2 times 3, it will give us negative 6, like that. Then we divide by 3, we divide by 3. So our x value should be equal to a negative 2, like that. So it's either your x could be negative 2 or positive 6. So we can say the solution set. So the solution set for this one should be equal to, we have a negative 2 and a 6. So both of these are working under this topic. So ax could be negative 2 or it could be positive 6. So now, already, let's say you have an absolute value of negative 5. When you say that the absolute value of negative 5 is equal to negative 5, this is a lie. Already, as long as the absolute value symbol is there, and here you have a negative value, that means to say that is a lie already. Because how come if you don't eliminate this, there is no way you could have a negative value like that. So if you look at, let's say for example, you have the absolute value of x, you have an equation that is looking like this. This is already not true. This means to say you cannot solve it. You cannot solve it. So meaning to say there is no solution. So already there is no solution for this, because if you, let's say you have negative 5, then they tell you that it's equal to negative 5. Already, as long as these are here, it cannot be equal to a negative number. It always has to be a positive as long as these are here. But what we are doing when we have our values, let's say you have your x should be equal to, we could have a positive here. This is when we can say now that x, when we remove these, can either be positive or negative 5. Because when you put these, if you put positive 5 in this absolute value symbol, it will still give you 5. If you put negative 5, still it will give you positive 5. So for such a situation, let's say for example you have a 7x minus 6 should be equal to a negative 1. So this, in order for you will say that so you can say no solution, because there is no way you can have a value of the absolute value giving you negative. As long as the absolute value is showing, you cannot have a negative value this side unless we remove the absolute value, but it cannot work already. You are not supposed to have a negative value for the absolute value, for we know that the absolute value, let's say whatever is inside here, the result, whatever result you will get, if it is a non-zero, it should be greater than 0. This means that whatever value, even if you have a negative 3 here, the value that you will get should be greater than 0, because the absolute value of 3 will give you 3. So meaning to say 3 is greater than 0. So you should have a number that is greater than 0, not values such as -1 as your result this side. No, if you just see a negative, it means to say you can't solve it. So let's look at our last problem. So let's say you have this problem. So how do you solve it? So for this one, you just introduce the plus or minus on one side if you have two sides. So it's either, let's say for example, you have the absolute value of A should be equal to the absolute value of B. So it's either immediately you introduce this, you can say that your A, you just introduce the plus or minus on one side. Or if you want, you can be able to say for the same one, you can say plus or minus A should be equal to B. So you just introduce this concept on one side. If you introduce it on both sides, it won't work. So let's be able to now solve it. So for this one, we can be able to say when we remove this, so we are going to make plus or minus the other side. So it will be a 5x plus 3 should be equal to plus or minus. Then what we are going to do is open the brackets and write these numbers, since this is where we have introduced the signs. So we are going to have 3x plus a 25 like that. So when we do that, we are going to be having our either our 5x plus 3 should be equal to the positive part, which is positive our 3x plus 25, or we can be able to say our 5x plus 3 should be equal to negative, open brackets, 3x plus a 25 like that. So immediately we do this, we can now be able to solve the two sides. So we can solve them separately. So we are going to have our 5x plus 3, which would be equal to, positive doesn't change anything, so the other equation remains. So we have a 3x plus a 25 like that. Then we can make the 3 cross the equal sign. So we have our 5x minus 3x should be equal to 25 minus 3. So that our 5x minus 3x gives us 2x should be equal to 25 minus 3 gives us a 22. Then we divide over 2 over 2. Our x should be equal to 11. So we have found our value, which is 11. Let's look at the other equation. So let's look at this other part. So we have our 5x plus 3. This negative multiplies everything. It will be negative times 3x. It will be negative 3x. Negative times 25. It will be minus 25 like that. So we are going to take the 3 this side. So we are going to have 5x plus our 3x. If it crosses, it will become positive. Should be equal to negative 25. Then we have this 3 crosses the other side, it will be minus 3 like that. Then 5x plus 3x, it will give us 8x, which should be equal to negative 28 like that. Then we are going to divide 8. We are going to have x should be equal to, so if we divide 28 divided by 8, so the common values that can enter is 4. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we are going to have a negative 7 over 2. So we can say that our solution set is the values that they are giving us. It's negative 7 over 2 and a positive 11. So that is how we solve absolute value equations. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe and share for more, so that A-level math, chemistry, biology and physics becomes a walk in the park for you.